Chances are, if you see me in a fashion suit like this, it's a very special occasion. The most recent time of which I wore the suit in black and gold was when I watched the 97th Oscars. Then before that, my 10th anniversary on YouTube. Then before that, my 23rd birthday in which I went ultra. Get it? There's many suits I can wear that look almost as nice as this, so why not talk about them? Hello folks, David here. So you may remember back in 2023, the year I started to go all in on my fashion statement, I did my very first fashion vlog. Ever since that vlog premiered on the 25th of June, I got even more into fashion. I bought some more clothes, checked out lots of other places to get some great clothes from, and even came across people with some fly looks. But I also learned a few things about the clothes I have, including whatever brands I got them from, as well as the specific materials they're comprised of. It was pretty interesting what I have learned over the course of one college semester, so I thought it would be okay if I dove right into this discussion over the next quarter of an hour or so. Before I do that, over 90% of you who watch my videos are not subscribed to my channel. So please remember to smash that subscribe button and click the bell to be notified when I upload my next video. Come on. So if you watch my first fashion vlog, you'll notice that some of my printed button-down shirts are made mostly of polyester, especially the roses shirts that you might have seen when I opened that vlog. Polyester is a fair and recyclable material, of course, but discarding it can cause many environmental setbacks. My problem is that I prefer out-of-the-ordinary button-downs and the like with all those creative designs over the typical pinstripe shirts and stuff like that, although I have those as well. While you folks may think I always make the right choices what I want to wear, there have been times where I made the wrong choices too. And other times, some of those choices weren't necessarily wrong, but rather excessive. One example of being excessive in my choice is this. This is the outfit that I call LINGO, and it's got quite a lot of plaid on it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Right now, you folks are probably going to call me out for being too flashy with that excessive plaid, but hold your tongues. I know not to wear that much plaid in a public place, but if you watch Lingo on CBS with RuPaul, you might notice a similarity to the Lingo grid in this outfit. Of course, I can wear just the shirt to my college classes, and it can go with any pairs of pants, so to not make it so distracting. You see, I've been pretty worried about how people would see me, because dressing up excessively means you draw attention to yourself if you're not in a convention of any kind. Either way, when people see me in a certain outfit, I often get compliments from them about whatever part of that outfit is, be it my shirt, my pants, my belt, my boots, and all that stuff. Sometimes I even compliment people that look snazzy, and the first thing I notice is the shirt they're wearing. Sometimes it's their jewelry, and then I become envious of what glitters on them like gold. But wait! Would I want to get more Cuban links on me? No. I wouldn't want to be excessively iced out because lots of rappers wear that much jewelry and it's highly expensive. And when I dress up, my aim is not to over-accessorize or combine too many patterns simultaneously, even when it appears that I am doing so. So I'm conservative in that way. That means, if you could excuse me, here we go. This design is more out of the ordinary in comparison to the traditional plaid that goes around in the fashion world, and especially in street fashion. On Lightinthebox, it was listed as marble, but I think it looks more colorful in comparison to a typical marble design. Now, there is an underlying problem with Lightinthebox that I just couldn't ignore. They are part of the fast fashion trend, like Shein and Temu. Many of their items are made from cheap material, and so I was unable to take into consideration that looks can be deceiving. I made a fool out of myself for continuing to purchase certain items on it, even though I was aware that many of their printed shirts looked goofy and rather pretentious. Many of them were too political, and many of them were just, well, what can you say? You'll have to see for yourself. I also redeemed points for every day I logged into their app, but now I found that those points are just useless. The coupons don't take much off your order total either. One of the disappointments that came in the mail was a pair of pants with a stripe on the side of each leg, and I thought it was going to be like one of those tailored pairs of dress pants, but no. I instead received polyester makeshift flimsy chino pants with a fake stripe printed on it. I was like, God fucking damn it, I got scammed. The rest of those items were okay, but if you look closely at a few of my printed shirts, those being my polygons and roses shirts, you'll notice that they are mirrored. Hence why I don't trust Lightinthebox. I talked about that when making a few essays for my textile challenge. But anyway, I think that this look is supposed to represent luxurious elegance, especially with these pants that I got from Zara when I was in Los Angeles. If you watched my restream for my 23rd birthday, you were aware that I also got this cologne, my very first, from Zara. But when shopping for clothes in LA, I wanted a set of Versace type clothes, but looking at the price tags, I had a feeling of, ouch! In all seriousness, LA is a high-end city, factually speaking, and yet I don't necessarily want to quote-unquote dress cheap. Speaking of Versace, I also have a shirt that looks exactly like a typical Versace shirt, and coincidentally, I wore it when flying out to LA. Look at this. This is the aforementioned Versace styled shirt, and I know for a fact that when you see me in a shirt like that, your first impression is that I'm dressing luxury. And you know what? You're right. It made sense for me to wear it to LA because it's, like I said, a high-end city, and the folks living in that area, even the Hollywood Hills, are all about the luxury life. That means I dress to represent it. Only this particular shirt is more colorful. Again, this is made of polyester, and so I have to wash it in cold water so it can still hold it for a long time. That brings me to this point that I always expect my garments to last long, and there are a few that just don't. In fact, I would like to talk about the toe socks I wear. The first pairs of toe socks came from the Amazon vendor VILTROX, and they never really seemed to hold up well. They had deteriorated when they were not even 3 months in, and I initially thought it was because of the way I washed them. I used to wash them in a warm water cycle with my other non-delicate clothes, but the instructions said to wash them in cold water, like in a delicate cycle, so I've been doing that ever since. However, when I brought my socks with me to my textiles class, one of my 2 instructors had a remark about the cause of those socks deteriorating. It turns out that it wasn't the way I washed them, it was the material. Those socks are made mostly of cotton, and upon further research, cotton, while it is somewhat of a sustainable material, is not made to last long. I had another set of toe socks that were also made of cotton, and thicker than the first ones, and even though the seller promised that my feet wouldn't sweat when I wear those socks, I noticed that one day, they reeked. I was like, ooh, I'm in trouble. I mean, seriously, I was definitely scammed by both of those sellers, but the third time was the charm, because I decided to get myself some Cool Max toe socks. I even talked about this when consulting with a librarian at my college, and he helped me answer the question regarding a good substitution for cotton. Speaking of which, many of my other button-downs are made of that same material, and they often end up slightly wrinkly after being tumble-dried on a low setting. Now back at home, my dryer has a steam fresh setting, and it helps get rid of some of the wrinkles, if not all of them, in which case I'd have to use an iron or my steamer to do that. That especially applies to the cyan shirt that I got from Nordstrom, and when I steam it, the hardest part to do is the sleeves. I would need a separate ironing board for the sleeves so that I can flawlessly steam out the wrinkles without affecting the other side. Either way, wrinkles are too noticeable to ignore, and I get a little too concerned that they'll be the first thing my peers notice when they sit next to me. Excuse me. This is what it looks like before I apply Steam Fresh to one of my shirts versus after. No significant difference on that shirt, but most of the time it takes away most of the wrinkles, so in that case, that means I gotta use my steamer. Now, I don't just get my clothes online or from the brick and mortar stores. While some of my fashion elements are derived from members of my family, as I mentioned in my fashion vlog follow-up, there were also hand-me-downs from other college students that were into fashion like me. Those hand-me-downs came from a clothing donation on campus called Burns Closet, where students donate their old clothing for aspiring fashionistas, to try on themselves. When I was looking to add some more flavors to my wardrobe, I needed to make sure they fit me. The ones that didn't fit me had to be put back, especially the full tuxedos. I was never informed of the size they were, and so after trying them on, I felt disappointed because the pants were oversized. I was like, who decided to sell those? They must have lost weight. But this shirt that you're seeing right now fits me like a, and I did get it from that clothing donation. Polo shirts are always a good formal substitution to traditional t-shirts since they can also be buttoned up. A few other polo shirts I own include this gray floral golf shirt, these two undersized Cosmic polos, and my orange RIT polo. Ideally, the two Cosmic polos would be worn underneath any blazer/jacket, especially my Sgt. Pepper jacket. But I got those shirts in the large size thinking that they would fit me best, not knowing they were made for a skinnier person. What I discussed in a paper for my sustainable textiles class was that I would have to unshrink these shirts without thinning their fibers or ruining their color. Either that, or I'd have to get those same shirts in a larger size, XL to be exact. And back to what I said about clothing that fit me, I remember getting a pair of dark gray pants from my wardrobe, but I was convinced the waist size was 31. I wear 32. So I ended up getting a pair of pants at the exact size that was roughly the same color from Zara, as you saw earlier. And my blazer size is 40R, which I discovered when I went to J. Crew and got measured for my magenta tailored tuxedo. I took that into consideration when window shopping or bookmarking some superior additions to my wardrobe when I was in LA. Clothiers such as Charlie Chukare, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, would have provided me optimal results. But back out west, I didn't have any of these such looks. This is a silver pinstripe button down that I also got from a clothing donation, and frankly, it's not even the greatest of all time. Of course it looks great on me, like in my own head it looks the best on me, but considering what kind of person that shirt was tailored for, it might be a little small for my neck. In fact, when my mom saw me in that shirt combined with these sage green pants and Cuban heel boots, she had significant remarks about the shirt. Despite liking the color of the shirt and thinking it was flattering, she said the neck size was too small for me, and if I should wear a tie, I would have to button the top button, but I wouldn't be able to because of that diminutive neck size. And I have to say, I never really took those remarks kindly. That's kind of funny because I'm the one who makes all the choices of what I should and shouldn't wear. I admit that I took them as personal attacks when I know they're not, so it might just be me being so touchy. But there was one other remark that I had. Sure, it was a great decision for me to get another French cut shirt, but compared to the sleeves of the first one, it's not easy to put cufflinks through the slots. I struggled to put my golden cufflinks through without much success. As it turns out, those cufflinks weren't very authentic because I found they were made of dollar store material rather than traditional. So stay tuned. You'll probably see me in this shirt again, but with much better gold cufflinks. But now back to the neck. If a shirt has a diminutive neck size, then it's okay for me to keep the collar open, so that my Cuban links are visible. It's a sexy way to show the top of my bust anyway. Compare that to traditional dress shirts. If I wear those, I would have to keep the collars closed, and it's optional if I button the top button, especially when I wear a bow tie or a necktie. For the latter, I want you to watch closely because I started learning to independently tie a Windsor knot when I was 20. See that? The Windsor knot has to be directly aligned with my suprasternal notch, and the loop has to be loose enough to not strangle me. I had to consider that the whole time when I started wearing this goldenrod tie with my polygon shirt. And I don't have OCD, but I always have to make sure both ends of the tie are even, or I'll have to tie the knot over again. I might also have to learn how to tie bow ties because I've only been experienced with pre-tied ones. Now let's talk briefly about the different styles I wear. You saw me dress in Versace, and you also saw me dress in non-traditional attire, but oftentimes I might wear a few kinds of shirts that are traditionally worn at the office. And by the way, I also got this jacket from a clothing donation. But this shirt looks similar to one of the shirts that Dad wears to his job, and it's very common in the attire of a typical businessman and/or street fashion. But it would be less distracting to wear those kinds of shirts over the printed button-downs with the psychedelic designs and stuff. And you would think that I'm dressing like a 60s, 70s, or 80s guy, but I would say my style is more like 2001. A few other shirt styles that are similar to this include this plaid shirt and this grid shirt. To me, that one looks similar to Western style attire. Oh, panhandle is the word, isn't it? Yeah. Now, I'm not that country because I'm obviously not from a southern state, but I would love to visit Savannah, Georgia someday, because I heard that that city specializes in fashion. I might even buy some new clothes from there, maybe even check out some different styles. Now, it's not just these styles, I can also dress in Paisley. Take a look. Oh my god, why do I keep teleporting every time my outfit changes? This is the first shirt that I got that actually has a Paisley design. It's one of the many shirts that I have that exhibit an ornamental style, like the next few shirts you'll see later. But right away, you'll know it's more free-flowing than the traditional pinstripe or plaid you saw earlier. I think that Paisley is one of many things you might see when you look at street fashion. One occasion in which I wore this was my brother's high school graduation ceremony, and I was told not to wear anything that would be seen as pretentious or attention-grabbing. The thing is, my aim isn't really to steal anyone's attention when I wear the printed button-downs. It's just that I'm an artist and like to incorporate my artist instincts into my fashion taste. Hey, let me tell you something. My dad has his own set of Paisley ties, and so I was inspired by him and my grandpa to get a little something like this. Coincidentally, I also got my first Paisley tie that was not inherited by either member of my family as a prime gift. My dad is a fan of the Paisley design, especially when it comes to ties. In fact, when my dad wore suits for many years in his job, his ideal tie style would be Paisley regardless of color. Grandpa, on the other hand, wasn't as adventurous with Paisley, but rather well-dressed and well-tailored clothing. Therefore, his taste was more conservative, and where he added color or patterns, it was usually my grandmom's influence. I decided to take my own route considering my generation. Now, what was I talking about? Oh. Ooh. This is another ornamental design shirt that I like to wear to a much more formal setting, and this is the same outfit that you saw in the cold open of this video. And it comes in 3 different variants: gold on black, gold on navy blue, and black on white. I call this my Yakuza outfit just because it looks exactly like the kind of style that Akiyama Shun wears underneath his blazer, but with a touch of gold floral. I don't need a top hat or a white tie to go with that sort of fit. I've got my Cuban links, so that makes me a different kind of gangster when I wear this. But if that doesn't look celebratory enough, take a look at this. There we go, the same black and gold look, but with the black and gold floral blazer. One of the best garments I got from King of Prussia. That's the same outfit that you saw in the last year for my 23rd birthday, and I also wore this to my very first visit to the Strong National Museum of Play. I wore it to attract the butterflies, so you might even say that I was dressed like a butterfly. When it came to watching the Academy Awards, I remember wearing the same shirt and pants on the 96th Annual Academy Awards was showing, and I didn't know I was dressed to represent it. But now I know that that ceremony is all about the black and gold, and so I went all in with wearing that same outfit for the 97th Academy Awards with one of my former roommates, Jackson Wing, who has a profound interest in the film industry. But because it was much colder in the city of Rochester, in place of these pants, I wore snow pants with the same color. Look at this. So these are the kinds of pants that look sort of like your typical dress pant, but they're also fleece lined like a sweatshirt. If it's, for instance, 40 degrees outside, those pants are suitable for me. The only problem with these particular snow pants is that I have to roll the legs up at my feet because they have an inseam size of 34. And my inseam size is 32. Don't worry, although I can and don't want to exchange them, I have another pair of these pants with the correct inseam measurement, but they're army green. I usually wear those pants with this shirt and tie. There we are. This is 2 Christmas gifts in one outfit that you're seeing right now. It's basically the union of both nations whose flags consist of red, white, and blue. I'm talking the United States and Kingdom respectively. No, really. This shirt was actually British made because it's got the Union Jack. Okay, I don't know how to make it any more obvious. Soul of London makes very brilliant shirts, especially since this is the first shirt that I got that has French cuffs on it. And the ideal cufflinks to wear on that shirt are these emerald cufflinks that I once got from Lightinthebox. When I first wore this with cufflinks, I got a step wrong. The proper way to wear a shirt with cufflinks is to roll up the sleeves at the cuffs and then apply the links. If you want to know about another outfit that includes these pants, it's this. This is an army green shirt with epaulets that is part of the outfit that I simply call S23, or Sarge 23. One thing I learned about this particular color, named olive drab by the US Army, is that it's a very trendy color in street fashion. As a matter of fact, my table in my textiles class discussed the colors in fashion when we had a guest speaker over, and green was brought up in the discussion. So now it makes sense why I got a green S23 Ultra, preferring that color over the other choices. Heh! Give me 23 burpees! Nah, just kidding. In all fairness, most people in the streets, and especially back in college, like to wear muted colors, especially since it's more relaxing and less striking to the eye, whereas more saturated colors would be perceived as more stimulating. There was one other thing that couldn't go unnoticed when I was wearing the outfit LINGO. There was too much saturation throughout the outfit, and so I know not to wear it across campus, except for on more special days, like the first Friday bus that I had on September 6th. Anyway, no one seems to mind me wearing a shirt like this, but when I first got it and decided to wear it for Veterans Day in 2023, I thought it was mistagged because it said 5XL, but it still fit, and I think it's a good look for me either way. I can also wear the black snow pants with the shirt, obviously. If that doesn't feel warm enough for me, I can wear this V-neck sweatshirt of the same color. Hold on. There we are. Too green for you? Then here's a relaxed outfit that uses a similar color to this. This is a simple green and gold look, but you know what? It matches my phone and watch too, only this is sage green. By default, I wear these pants with this shirt and this tie. With a shirt like this, there has to be a matching pair of pants, and I will get to the subject of the pants later on. But this is a relaxed formal outfit as suggested by how these pants look. They look more like slacks, really. Now, considering that I'm part Irish, I find that these colors are my lucky charm, especially in a formal setting. It even signifies growth, as I discovered. Sometimes I even think it signifies Hakuna Matata, but that measure doesn't work in 2025. Either way, wearing both of these special colors represents a positive outlook. Oh! Before I go on to showing you another outfit of a relaxed style, I want to go back and talk about how I care for the other ornamental shirts I wear. The 3 ornamental Yakuza shirts I wear are okay with being machine washed, but the product specifications instruct me against that. What do I care though? They're fine, as long as it's in tapped cold water. There was one from the same brand, Zero Ya, that I decided to dry clean though, and it's this. I could have worn this shirt to the butterfly garden, but I'm not so sure if it will attract butterflies. Now here's a similar style to what you saw earlier when I was up at the office. It also has stripes, but it's more of a white collar than a blue collar, but I've never worked at an actual job despite white collar and blue collar both referring to the different labor types. But these pants, you can't put a belt on those ones because there's only one ring for it. They're very distinctive either way, especially at the cuff. Now, whatever pants I wear, it must not be anything that would hurt my knees like skinny jeans used to. That's why in my textiles class, I sewed the word arthritis onto a denim patch because that was my experience with it. Anyway, last time I talked about my pants, it was mainly about the 2 blue pairs of pants that I got from Nordstrom, but over time, they were torn at the bottom by the rear zippers of my black gator boots. I unfortunately don't know how to repair them, even though I got back into the sewing process. And by the way, this is the first of 3 shirts that I got for Christmas in 2023 from Hugo Boss. Bonus points if you can guess what flowers these are. Sometimes, whatever shirt I wear depends on what pants I want to wear with them. For instance, if it's my Goldenrod Polygon shirt, it doesn't always have to be paired with the matching Polygon pants, unless my Sgt. Pepper jacket is worn over the shirt. Or if I'm wearing my relaxed casual safari shirt from All Saints, I can wear the blue-gray pants or these green pants. I can also wear the same green pants with this hibiscus shirt or my jungle leaf shirt. Oh, speaking of polygons, this is another polygon shirt that I got from Lightinthebox, and it's also coordinated like my Lingo Grid shirt and the Colorful Cubes t-shirt I have. If you watch my live streams from Los Angeles, you'll have recognized this shirt from the first of 3 streams. Right now, I'm wearing the gray pants that I got from Zara once again, and that's according to the rule I have with this shirt. The pants would have to be a single color. I can wear white ones, maroon ones, black ones, green ones, you name it. Last time, I wore plaid shorts in black when I went to a light show at my local zoo. And that's me posing underneath the glow stick tunnel. The photo was taken by a friend of my brother's. I've got quite a lot of shorts that I can wear, 2 of which are pride shorts, like you might have seen in my first fashion vlog. The other pants are okay on short sleeve shirts as well, an appropriate fit for when it's not much of a scorcher. I actually wore these green pants on my first day in LA when it wasn't sweltering as much out there. And if you think about it, these pants match this shirt in regards to the sage green color. But one rule that I set for these pants is that I can't wear them with my army green shirt. They're too bright to match it, but what do you think? In place of those green pants, I can wear these shorts that are also sage green, but they're slightly brighter obviously. And if I have to wear this in hotter weather, I'd best roll the sleeves up. I'll have a hard time keeping them that way though, as there's only 1 button on each cuff and none on the plackets leading to the cuff. How inconsiderate of Lightinthebox to do that. I can also wear those same shorts with this Hawaiian shirt, or those same green pants, or the maroon pants. Same thing with the gray floral golf shirt. Okay, I think this is getting a little too overstimulating. What do you say I strike a few poses to cool this down? Oh, going back to what I said about the blue dress pants, they're just about as comfortable as joggers or sweatpants, albeit in a more formal style. And now that I think about it, the snow pants are a formal version of sweatpants, basically. And this hoodie used to be paired with a t-shirt and a pair of joggers when I first wore it. But now, I decided to up the ante by wearing it with a button-down shirt and some dress pants. And that reminds me. Let's briefly talk about the outerwear. You already know about my Sgt. Pepper jacket, and the fact that it adds more formality to what I wear that's, let's say, colorful, geometric, ornamental, and whatever else. But apart from adding that cherry on top, sometimes I can just wear other jackets like this green denim jacket. Or if it's about 50 degrees outside, I can wear this plaid winter jacket, and it usually goes with an outfit that contains a sweater of a solid color. But on winter days colder than 40, I have to wear a down jacket. Any colder, and I'd have to add layers to what's underneath that jacket. And one rule I heard about wearing warm clothes when I was in my textiles class is that they must not be skin tight. That probably explains why my long johns aren't really that comfortable for my leg hairs. When it rains, it's too obvious that I have to wear a raincoat, but in a discussion that I had with a YouTube friend, I wasn't sure what color raincoat I wanted to get, and was torn between orange, magenta, or whatever shade of green would come close to this. Eventually, my final decision was camouflage green, and the camo design that I settled for was more detailed in comparison to what's worn in the military. Still, if I'm out in the woods and it's that rainy, you won't see me. Now onto the footwear. Most of the time, you've seen me wearing a pair of black Cuban heel boots with chains on them, namely these ones from ASOS. But if you watched my 23rd birthday stream, you saw me change into a different pair of boots that were like that. Those too had a chain on them and were suitable for the runway platforms. They look similar to the Santa Hall boots worn by this guy, industrial designer Salvatore Laxi, who was inspired by the rather obscurely named indie horror game on Steam, Toy Chronicles. Anyway, at the time, my ASOS Gator boots were at a repair shop / cobbler, and not only did their soles need to be redone, but so did the insoles. And I inferred that it had something to do with the fact that I wore them without socks, which also made my feet sore. But just like those boots, the Western ones work on any formal suit. Last year, I also got a pair of silver boots with black stars from ASOS, and I gotta say, they did look pretty attention-grabbing, and because of that, I wore them a little less often than the Gator boots. On other occasions, in case of any concern for the soles of those boots, I will wear sneakers. The latest pair of sneakers that I have serve as my Air Jordans, and it makes sense that I got them at the age of 23 because Michael Jordan wears the number 23 for his basketball team. They're orange for RIT, and so I will wear them to represent my college. But I also have these arch support flip-flops from Reef, and they're usually good for the holidays, as if it weren't obvious enough. I would need the Reef brand because they provide proper ergonomics for my, especially on the arches. They're at least better than the Gladiator sandals I remember showing you, which were handmade and frankly, weren't of great quality. They were otherwise very well designed. Meanwhile, if you watch the first half of my 21 and 25 vlog and watch the scene where I was at round 1 bowling and amusement at my local mall, you might have seen these gold sneakers with the lit up soles. They can light up in many different modes and are chargeable via micro USB like my Cybershot camera, which I used to film that whole vlog, and at the time, they were lit up in RGB magenta. And later that year, I also got another pair of sneakers that were black and magenta, and despite being the correct shoe size, they fit pretty tightly. I mean, my feet are size 11, but I wear a 13. Then finally, when I went to get a hoodie for my fit as Anton from my short film, Tunneling Through Dreams, I also decided to get myself a pair of slippers that also fit me despite being loose. One other pair of slippers that would fit me better would be another pair of Uggs. I mean, seriously, it's been almost forever since I last had a pair of those, but they're so pricey that I have to wait until Christmas. Don't judge me though, I'm gonna have to settle for that. Oh, and I forgot to mention, on my way back out from the restaurant on the night of my 23rd birthday before heading back out to the car, I had to change back into these black and white techwear sneakers, the first pair I owned that can be machine washed, that were also part of a Halloween costume in 2024. It was a more detailed and sophisticated look than JK wore for one of his music videos, namely Virtual Insanity. I have to say, those were the best sneakers to go with that costume. I mean, it says so on the straps of the sneakers. I even wore them to LA because I could never get my ASOS Gator boots back at the time, but I can only excuse the cobblers. So I really can't say that it was a missed opportunity, but I did manage to bring my tassel loafers with me. Yup, also from ASOS. And I wore them when we went out to dinner on the second night. Okay, now when it comes to looking for new additions to my wardrobe, I often window shop. If I'm shopping from wherever, I'm always on the look for certain specific shirts I want to buy, and it's usually the ones with the most vivid designs that I would like. When I was at Nordstrom, there was a very obscure choice of printed button-downs. These two were the ones that struck out to me, but seeing that they are high-end, I decided I don't really need them right this second. That was also the case with the Grove branch of Nordstrom in LA, but I ended up not getting a thing from there. In 2025, the prices of clothes are very discouraging, so what I do is keep my expenses low and abstain from overspending. On the other hand, if it's online, I simply save it to a wish list. Now, I'm not going to show you my wish list due to confidentiality, and besides, my phone is being used to record the whole vlog. What I can show you are a few items I've been thinking of getting recently, like this white shirt with the printed button line and pocket. It's very similar to the Paisley shirt you saw earlier, but the style is a little bit different from Paisley. Or how about this shirt with the plaid cuffs on it? It isn't your typical polo shirt, it's got long sleeves in comparison. Maybe this one, because I'm a dog person? Actually, another person I know that would look good in a shirt like this is Neon Wolf. Not sure why though, but I was told he's into fashion like I am. He might also look good in a black polo shirt with this embroidered maned wolf. Ah. There was another rule that applies to whatever I buy from wherever. I must look at the specifications first, and if they don't have a specific sizing chart, it won't be worth the purchase. That especially applies to footwear because I don't know what a size EU 47 is exactly. Though I know it's about 12.5 in the US, but 47 what? centimeters? No, that would be equal to about 18.5 inches. Anyway, now that I learned my measurements, I have to put the sizes in exactly as they are. 40R, waist size 32, inseam size 32, shoe size 13. I might work out some time after this, but the measurements still stand. I'd have to give away the ones that don't fit anymore, like these coral canvas shorts. I might match these shorts and get them in the size 32. Same thing with those tan shorts I used to wear. Now, I don't mind polyester, but one thing I learned about it is that it traps heat, so I can't wear those such clothes in scorching weather. I discovered that when I wore a Beatles t-shirt in black that was made of polyester. Okay, that concludes tonight's vlog. Oh, wait a minute! We've got one more outfit before we close out this vlog, and it's this. Cut it off, will ya? This is my last Hurrah suit, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I always wear the suit when it's the last day of something, and in this case, it's the last day of shooting my fashion vlog before the premiere. You first saw me wearing this when I was setting up my new phone on 123.123, because that time it was the last day of the year, meaning 12/31/23. Now, it became a habit of me wearing it to the last day of class back in college. The fluorescent shade of magenta signifies being bold and going out strong, like going out with a bang! The black provides a stronger contrast against the magenta, whilst also representing power and sophistication, which means wearing both of those colors represents a feeling of enthusiastically saying, "That's all, folks, until we meet again!" So I'm going out with that kind of a bang. When 2024 started, I posted my best first selfie onto my community tab, and my magenta stood out against the botanic green. And if you think about it, the suit represents both Barbie and Oppenheimer. My favorite thing about this suit is, aside from the magenta, the touch of silver that adds a sparkle to it. And if you look closely at the belt, you'll see that it has a special kind of clip. It's got a rotating pendant that signifies good luck on a concluding occasion. That concludes tonight's primetime vlog, and thank you Rosie and George for not woofing during the final cut. Incidentally, tonight's shoutout goes to Neon Woof. He streams on Twitch typically every Sunday through Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and occasionally, he posts his own videos on his YouTube channel and clips from his Twitch streams. He also features some of mine with his panting smile. On Twitch, he sometimes plays games and occasionally has some of his friends over on the streams, and overall he is such a good boy. You can watch him on twitch.tv/neon_woof, or subscribe to his YouTube channel at youtube.com/@_neonwoof. But minors, do not interact. Seriously, things can get very risky at a few points during the stream, but I'm over 21 and so is he, so I'm not even worried about that. I would also like to apologize for premiering this a week late. My initial premiere date for this vlog was the 26th of July 2025 at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, but my depression kept getting in the way. I had lost motivation along the way and felt like I was running out of time, therefore needing more time to work on this. One other thing that couldn't go unnoticed was that my portable hard drive was destroyed at the micro B port. It eventually got fixed by some experts, but I decided on one with larger storage. Either way, I would like to thank you for being here for this primetime vlog, and hopefully by the end, I will continue to look the sharpest, most fabulous that I possibly can. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Feel free to comment on which outfit was your favorite, and if you're into fashion like me, you can tell me what you learned growing up. I'd be happy to hear about your experiences, folks. This is David Egan, aka Sergeant Pepper Arc 360, saying, stay classy, and I'll see you next time. There is an underlying problem with Lightinthebox that I just couldn't ignore. They are part of the Shit. No, let me stop recording. This is... Quiet on set, please. Please excuse why I'm gonna yell. It's part of the script. This is the first shirt that I... What? Hold on. Rosie. checked out lots of other places to get great clothes from. No, don't you shut down on me. Rosie, I gotta change out of these first.
Hold on, I messed it up. Let me.
And action. Oh, it's not focusing.
It's not supposed to do that.
Oh, you got it? Alright, that'll be cut. I don't know, when I say action.
No.
Here.
Hold on, let me get you off
Keep
screen.
rolling. You can keep rolling. Can I just say, look at these flowers. Look at that tree. Magenta goes good with botanic green. Wait, no, sorry. Goes well with botanic green. Go check out Neon Wolf by clicking through to his channel in the center circle. Remember, adults only, please.